Welcome to Three Mums Podcast, hosted by Natalie, Anthea, and Charlene. This is a space where you'll get nothing but real conversation. This is your moment to pause, have a laugh, get involved, and come on our journey. Open, honest, and free always. Hashtag the Three Mums Way.
Welcome to Three Mums Podcast. I'm Natalie. For all the new followers that we might have, we have got something so special for you today. As you know, this is our podcast where we are open, honest, and free at all times. And that means that we're always going to divulge or share personal experiences in our discussions, but every now and then, you're going to get an actual in-depth little something from each of us. And this is the first time we're really doing this, where for the next few episodes, you're going to get a personal insight into an area of one of our lives. And today, who's sharing the most will be Anthea. So I'm going to hand over to my sis Anthea, and she's just going to begin talking about what she has on her heart that she wants to share with you guys. And we're just going to have a real frank, open, honest conversation on her topic. Go ahead, Anthea.
Yeah. So, guys, the topic that I'm approaching today is about how roles can be defined within a relationship. How you can be in a relationship where one person takes an active role and where one person takes a passive role. So I'm talking actually about the current relationship. I mean, I'm not going to try and pretty it up. It's the current relationship that I'm actually in, whereby I would say that my role is the role of someone who instigates, takes the lead in, I would say, 95% of situations. I plan a lot of the time. I forward think a lot of the time when it comes to things to do with the family. It's usually me that will instigate it. And the stance that he usually takes is that of he will agree with what I've said, or he will do whatever I ask him to do. So doesn't necessarily, like I said, initiate. So for me, it's, if I'm honest, because that's what it's about, it's caused me to be frustrated and resentful, because I guess I had an expectation. I put an expectation in place that I guess I shouldn't have put in place. I probably marked it off previous relationships, thinking that with this particular one, he's a different caliber of man. You know, nothing like any other man I've been with before. So yeah, set these really high expectations, and not knowing whether he would be able to fulfill them or not. Came to find, once we had a child together and was establishing our family, that the things that I needed from him, he wasn't able to fulfill. So that's where the resentment came in. And I think the fact that, you know, as I've said, we started a family together. I had my son from a previous relationship, let's say. Things happened quite quickly. And there wasn't really, if I'm honest, keep saying if I'm honest, I am being honest, but the foundation wasn't a firm one at the start. So in that being said, it meant that once we had a child together, everything just got thrown, you know, and neither of us were prepared. And I think there's the saying that's like, was it flight or what's the saying? Like,
something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. And when you have two young children, depending on, all I had to do is fight my way through, you know, trying to establish what be in this partnership, and, pretty much kind of just did everything without, even involving him a lot of the time. And if I think about it now, I mean, we're a good few years into the relationship now. I've had to change a lot of how I do things, and I take full responsibility for that because I'm genuinely quite a controlling person. But I go back to, say, one of my roles when I was in a secular job. I was a senior manager. So I spent a lot of time delegating, and being in charge. And it's almost as if that part of my character has never left me. But as I've said, it's because I need to get things done. There's now 3 young children in the home, and, they're looking for stability, they're looking for structure, they're looking for routine, and I'm the person that provides it. And I guess what has now happened is that, in a sense, he's taken a back seat. And I don't know if there's any way he can come to the front with me, to be honest, because I effectively am the one in holding the steering wheel, holding the reins. So yeah, the roles, our definitive roles within this relationship, my partnership, is actually, it's hard, it's tough. And yes, I am doing my best to change the dynamic somewhat. And yeah, he does his bit too. And yeah, that's it. That's the crux of it.
He's come with that real truth today.
Exactly. Seriously. All right, so what could you, if you could rewrite the story, what would you have done differently at the start?
What would I have done
differently? Knowing now about each other, in terms of, you said character, you said that you got in there quite quick, so the foundation might not have been set to your liking, but if you could change anything, if let's say you're still going to have your children, because at the end of the day, 2 beautiful, amazing kids have come out of that relationship, so you're not going to change that aspect, but what could you do differently to change how you feel currently now? What would be your advice? All right, for a lady who's in your situation right now, or is about to embark, and she's talking to you and she starts to say some qualities and characteristics and traits about herself and her partner, you're like, I've heard this story before. What would be your advice to her? Because you're living it, but do you get what I mean?
I am living it. I most certainly am living it.
Yeah.
But it's finding some kind of common ground, okay, I guess, where we can both express what maybe frustrations, how we're feeling. And I think a big part of it is allowing the other person to really say how they feel without any form of judgment. Okay. Allowing them to, because I find it hard, guys. I just find it hard, and I know the root of it is because of previous relationships carrying stuff from one to the other, to the other. And by the time I met the man I'm with now, and I'm not just talking with the physical eye, it appeared from the offset that, yes, he's a completely different type of man. How he carried himself, he just had a different viewpoint on life, the most positive person that I had ever met. Really believed in the power of the tongue, and considering, I guess, some of the volatile relationships that I've been in prior, this was a breath of fresh air.
Mm.
So he encapsulated everything I thought I ever wanted in a man, like, you know, this time round.
Mm.
So I know I kind of saw what I wanted to see, Nat, Shaz.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down. I saw what I wanted to see. So in answer to your question, I would say really I think first of all, take the time out to find out, you know, who the person is that you're about to embark on this journey with, number one. And number two, I would say, make sure, or maybe the other way around, maybe you're working on yourself first.
Yeah.
I would say, actually make sure that you're actually in the position to embark on this journey, because you don't know, because I don't think things are always really revealed, from the offset.
Mm.
It's as you're journeying together, you come to learn things about a person's character.
Mm.
You know. So for me, I've put a disclaimer out. I have actually touched base with him about some of the things that I may say today. So I'm not speaking out of turn. I'm not trying to discredit or anything like that. But even sometimes what can happen in a person's childhood, you'd be amazed how, you know, things can be carried through into a relationship, and then certain things are projected, you know, and then you're just, I was left thinking, like, what is this about? But I think one of the key things for me, once I kind of, like I said, put the expectations to rest, is trying to be in tune with what his needs were. And I think once I got to that point, it was it's been a lot easier. I'm not saying I'm there, guys. I'm not saying I'm there at all, because, you know, Nat, Shaz, you will know, when I have my moments when I need to vent, I'm just very like, I can't do this. My mentality was usually the first sign of anything uncomfortable, anything I don't like, see you later, I'm gone, I'm out of this. But this time around, I've had to kind of like say, you can't keep running. You know, you have to deal with the stuff. And I'm hoping I've answered the question, but like, I would say you have to deal with the stuff that you may have. Like my little boy, was not my firstborn, he refers to when he's had things happen to him, or whether it's been something at school, and it makes him feel down, and he doesn't feel like he wants to talk. He refers to them as carrying rocks. I can't say R's, I got R'ism, but he's carrying like boulders. He's carrying that heavy load. And at the point where he starts to talk about it to me, or even to like his little sister, just whoever's willing to listen, he feels so much lighter. And I thought that is exactly what, it's a really good analogy, that sometimes we are carrying boulders, we usually refer to it as baggage. You know, I think baggage is an understatement for me. There is a lot of stuff, as you guys know. But that I would change. I would have sorted myself out first, like, and even just down to the aspect of, like, you know, Shaz, it wasn't long ago you said to me, like, do I love him? And I went, what? And you're like, do you love him? Like, I don't actually think I know what love is, to be honest. Like, just genuinely, I don't know how to define that anymore. So there's so many levels. But I would definitely say, like, sort out the stuff within you first. Love yourself first. Accept yourself first. You know, even your past doesn't have to define you. I've had to make a conscious decision. Talk slower, Anth. A conscious decision that I'm not going to be held captive by the things, the choices that I've made in the past. Because if I did, I would not be sitting here now. My resume, my repertoire isn't squeaky clean. It's not, it's just life. It's just choices. But at least I own them.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's owning your choices. And when you own your choices, you can grow from that. And that's why I think it is possible for, in this current situation, in my current relationship, where I said there's an active role, which is myself, and there's a passive role, which is my partner. I truly believe we can come to some middle ground and we can get a better balance. So the dynamic between us will be where it needs to be.
Wow, man.
There's sorry, Nat, was you going to say something?
No, you talk.
There's a couple of things that come to mind. I'm just trying to regain all my thoughts. First of all, I just want to commend you, because it's like a lot of the times when we have these kind of conversations, it's in a place of resolve. So you're sharing from a place of kind of, but this is how it is now, guys. But you're actually sharing when it's raw. And I'm sure there's probably women who are in relationships right now who don't feel like they love their partner or their husband or their, etc. They don't feel that way. And that's the thing about, even in my marriage, now I know that I love Chris, but there are moments when I don't feel loving. And that's why we always hear that saying, like, love really is a choice. Sometimes you're like, my choice right now, I'm not feeling this. But yeah, that is what comes to mind. And even relationships are all about being selfless, but I feel like you're in a position where, because it's repeatedly happened, your love tank's just empty. It just feels depleted. And I think the third thing I would think is, Ant, would you say that there's maybe some work for you to do on yourself? Either that, because even for the people listening, we have these girl talks all the time, and I actually remember talking to Ant, who's already been very transparent about her journey, and I love that too, because none of us are perfect, and no one's squeaky clean. What does that even mean? We're all just on our own journey in life. But I remember talking to.
So the reason why I use that squeaky clean is because it was making reference to when we don't want to own that made. We'd rather just pretend as if, it never happened. And I think that's not a healthy place to be.
I completely agree.
Sorry,
would you say, Ant, that for you, two things, you've probably brought some of your own baggage. You've got your partner's stuff and you've got your stuff. And there's probably things that you, like I was saying, we've talked offline. And I remember saying to Ant, maybe you could do some counselling. And we were just kind of referring to counselling as walking around with broken limbs. So Ant, would you say that you have some stuff that you could probably deal with that would potentially help this situation even more? I know that your partner is how he is, but I'm just thinking a lot of the time it's good to think, what can I do in myself to manage this situation better, which you're currently doing, you're managing it. But yeah.
But I believe I'm managing it, but I know that there should be some intervention. Because 100% I'm carrying stuff, and yes, I get on with the day-to-day things, motherhood and more motherhood and even more motherhood on top of that. Like, that is my focus, and I think it's a focus and as well as a distraction, because I just keep going. I'm on autopilot. I just keep going. I keep going and keep going. But there are times, as you both well know, where I just, I'm empty. And this is the times when I'm just like, that there's certain things that you need to deal with. And I know it would help. I know I would be lighter. I know I would most likely be even a better partner, I've engaged since 2015, might I add. Yeah.
I love the openness. I just love it.
It's all
So,
coming
yeah.
out.
You know how it is. You know how it is. I'm just going to say it as it is. Now, I'm not mocking him at all, but to be fair on me, when he proposed, I was quite hormonal because yes, I was pregnant, and I remember, never forget it. It was an afternoon at my parents, and it was very random. And I think I was crying at the time because I was going through mixed emotions, and then just out of the blue, he proposed, and I was like, oh my God.
Hey,
So yeah, I agreed. And what 2021 now. So what, we're talking 6 years.
Nearly, not every 6 years.
It will be 6 years this year. And like, guys, I have run from the commitment. I've just, there's so much stuff. Like, so yes, Dars, like, things need to be dealt with. I mean, I'm pretty sure I've mentioned it in previous podcasts that I have been married.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's that stuff there. And like, because I've been on that journey, yes, I'm a completely different woman to who I was then, 100%. But there's still residues, there's still debris from all that. And then the stuff after that, and then the stuff after that. Guys, there is a lot, but I just, the thing about how previous things can shape, almost mold you to be a certain type of way. So when I think about my definitive role, I don't know if it's a coping mechanism, if it's a defense mechanism, if I'm protecting myself. There's so much things it could be, but I know that I've taken on the role, and I'm holding those reins as tight as I can.
Wow. I was going to say that I've been married, for those that don't know, for nearly 14 years. And I remember when I was doing my premarital counselling, my counsellor's died now, beautiful man named Noel. He was so amazing. And one of the things that he kind of picked up in our counselling was something that Anthea mentioned earlier, expectations. And I remember him saying as a piece of advice to drop all expectations I had of Anthony. I looked at the man like he was on crack. I was like, that doesn't make any sense. How can you even go into a relationship without expectation? It's normal to have expectation. And he was like, no, it's not normal, because it means you're not accepting the person for who they are. You literally have to love. When you're talking about unconditional love, you're loving them for everything that they are right now. So that's with the baggage, that's with the faults, that's with the good aspects, that's with looking good in the suit, that's not looking good. Whatever that is, you're loving them, because when you add an expectation, you said, here's the man, and then the expectation is prayer. You're adding weight on top of that man before you even gone anywhere. And I heard him, but it weren't digesting. I ain't gonna lie to you. Like, I heard him, and what he said in theory made sense, but how do you expect me to live this? Because in my mind, as you all know, you might not know, but I mentioned it in our previous podcast, I'm married to Anthea's brother. So obviously I love this man. I've known him for years, everything, but there's qualities I've already seen. We've been friends for years, and we've been together now at that time for a year, and it's just over a year. We got married after a year and 11 months, so it was still quite soon. So I'm already seeing little qualities of things I'm not liking that much, but in my mind, we'll work on this and these things will change. And he's like, no. You need to understand, what if they never change? Are you in this? And I'm like, well, yeah, but in my mind, I'm like, they're going to change though. Like, so these are, because anyone who does know me, I would like to say I'm quite good at solving problems. Like, I'm good at giving advice. I'm quite good at seeing the bigger picture. So even with these certain things, I could just see how easy it was for Anthony to fix them. And he's like, but what if he doesn't? What if he doesn't change? And yeah, I remember that first year was maybe the hardest year ever because of expectations, as well as the fact that you mentioned two things, Ant. You mentioned expectations and you also mentioned not knowing fully a person's character. What I'm going to say to you is to have some grace for yourself, because it is impossible to fully know a person's character. It doesn't matter how long you've known that person before. Different aspects of a relationship will bring out new elements or traits of a character that even maybe they didn't even know existed. Also, you mentioned about childhood. There are things that can happen in a person's childhood that different elements of their adulthood trigger those things. So they may not have even existed before either. It might not have been till being a father, or being in a certain relationship, or or it could have just been a conversation of an argument that you have, and that argument triggers a response, and you're like, where did that come from? And you've seen a whole new dynamic. So you must have grace for yourself that, as much as you're saying you didn't have a firm foundation or a bigger foundation, and granted, you said you saw what you wanted to see. Remember, when you meet someone, what do? You put your best foot forward. So he still presented to you the best parts of his character. So I think something I would say is hold on to those elements, because they're real. They were there. Do you understand what I mean? It's just that life and the realities of life and the responsibilities of life and the pressures of a relationship can sometimes hide them or cover them up or distract you from them. Do you get what I mean? So I think while you're going through it, because you're very much going through it, do your best to still focus on those core things, because they're still there. They haven't gone anywhere. And yeah, I think that, like Charlene said, it's just about now working on the stuff. One of the biggest things that helped me in my relationship was reaching a place where I realized that no one else is in charge of my happiness. Do you get what I mean? I actually realized I gave a lot of power to my husband. Do you get what I mean? And I remember praying about it and hearing so clear from the Lord, no, you're the issue. And I was like, what do you mean? And he was like, you are the one that holds the home, like, so he feeds off of you. And I was like, what? Like, and it was like, yeah, when I'm in a mood, he avoids me. When I'm in even if my mood was still created by him, he responded off of my nature. Like I had, and I was like, wow. And I've, very much, this was by like year 2, made a decision that no matter what was going on between us, I wasn't going to blame him for how I was feeling. I had to take ownership for my stuff. Do you understand what I mean? How I felt. Like that's too much power for a man. Way too much power. Do you get what I mean? So yeah, you've labeled those roles. But I think that, yeah, now, and you've said, you actually have categorically said one of your greatest traits. So the fact that you're actually good at leading, at, having, so that's a fantastic trait. Do you understand what I mean? But actually, it's now working that trait, but looking at what in you, needs to be worked on to make it easier for you to still be active in that role. But I guess somehow give him the power to step up, but in some sense be at peace with him never stepping up to maybe your expectation. Do you get what I mean? So it's never, I don't know if it's about lowering your standards, but yeah, just an understanding that he might never meet your expectation. So what are you going to do that your tomorrow, the days from here on out are your happiest as much as possible in your current circumstance? Do you get what I mean? Like it's Charlie mentioning the counselling, because we've talked about that. And I want to get something. I want to get it. Go on, sis. What do you want to say?
I love what you said, Nat. I just wanted to add to that like having been married for 7 years, I'm actually thinking about a Tyler Perry play that I saw once where they were just saying that marriage really does, and relationships work in peaks and troughs. And I guess what you said, Nat, when you said, or you said, I can't remember which one of you, but it's like, if you're in it, then you're in it. And I think for anyone listening, and for you, Anth, I think it's making that decision, like, am I actually in this? And I think when you know the answer to that, you know what the next step is, because there's been moments in my marriage that haven't always felt great, but I'm in it. And I actually wrote a song about this. It's called Stay, and it just kind of talks about they literally just made a choice to stay, and it was about a couple that I know, and they've had some really hard times. When you talk about nights when you say that life can make people change and act different ways. I actually love what you said, because it's like, I obviously know your partner and he's got some amazing qualities. So this is not a man bashing session, which you said, that's not what this is about. This is about just being real. And I reckon there's a bunch of people that can relate to this, but it's like this particular couple, one of the people in the relationship is just so different. They've changed so much. And, you know, it really has caused the other person to ask, does this person even love me? Because their actions, you know, have made them wonder these things. And I know, you know, in the in-depth issues that's happened in the relationship and within both people. And that is life. And I think it is that question of, when the chips fall, am I just in this? And I think that is the question that has to be answered, and then you know what your next step is. Because if you are in it, it means sometimes enduring. But at the same time, what Natalie said, you are in charge of your own happiness. So even amongst that, I'm in this, but I'm going to just choose to be happy. So that particular couple I'm talking about, one of the people in the relationship really has had a hard time, but they've just chosen, I'm gonna stay in this relationship, and I'm just gonna choose to ignore certain things, not respond to certain things, but that person is not gonna make me down anymore, because it was getting one of them really down. And now this particular person is just loving life, but they're still in the same relationship, and that person has not changed. But they've just chosen that they're gonna stay.
Wow.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Make sure you follow us on all of our social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at 3mums, except for Instagram, which is 3_mums. And make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube.
I have so many questions.